This is the Parent Portal Show.
You've seen prices rise from the dinner table to the pump, but Allstate agents are seeing ways to save you money on insurance. From starting a new policy to bundling coverage or even driving safely, Allstate agents know how to maximize your savings. They'll share their knowledge as they help you personalize your coverage. Because when it comes to seeing all the ways to save, Allstate agents do it best.
Mike Hammer has over 35 years as an Austin area Allstate agent. Call 512-343-6994 or visit mikehammer@allstate.com.
Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
All right, Coach, welcome back. We're looking at Kentucky and Mark Stoops and his thoughts on the NIL. What kind of news do we need to be talking about on Mark Stoops today?
Well, Mark is coming off a stinging loss to number one ranked Georgia in college football. And up until, 5 or 6 days ago, Kentucky was the Cinderella of the ball. They had come into that game 5-0, and they were ready to set the world on fire, and they had big expectations, and they got punched square.
They got crushed, 51-13. That was a pretty dominant game.
From the beginning, it was just it seemed like every time that Georgia touched the ball, they scored. Yeah. And as a result, that Monday morning press conference was a little bit different than it's been the whole year.
I bet.
And it felt like from, the article that's out there is that he wasn't having any of it, and he said that he was very quick to say, all the blame with the performance and, we got beat in every phase of the game. That's on us. He said, but he dropped this little nugget. He said, that team that we played, they were bought and paid for. And that was, basically bringing NIL, right square in front of everyone. And to that point, it was a caller that called in and just said, this is unacceptable. And he agreed. He said, but you guys have to help me. So he was on a show, like a call-in show, and people were calling him out, and he's like, look, he says, this is where you come in. You've got to give us money so we can stay up with the Joneses. Now, here's the rub on this for me. I really doubt that Calipari is saying the same kind of thing at the basketball.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
They are the haves.
Yeah,
they are the haves in basketball.
I get it. Hey, I think it's worth reading the quote. Let me share that. So if the other side, so he said, this is Stoops. The other side, if you want to do that, it's complain, deny, or make excuses, Stoops says. We're not going to do that, It is what it is, and fans have that right. I give it to them. I just encourage them to donate more because that's what those teams are doing. I promise you, in Georgia, they bought some pretty good players. You're allowed to these days. And we could use some help. That's what they look like. You know what I mean? When you have 85 of them, scholarship players. So I encourage anyone that's disgruntled to pony up some more. End quote. Man, oh man, is that right in the face of what NIL is doing to the landscape? It's so absolute intense.
Yeah, and like I said, it's like this is even within the same institution where a blue blood Kentucky basketball is probably pouring out big bags full of money for their recruits so they stay on top where they've been for the past few decades. And so you look at that and you say, well, wait a minute, because I say this is, in my mind, Kentucky's always been known as a basketball school.
Yeah.
So is that money that the collective raising going to, is that message what, Stoops is saying, going to the collective to say, hey, give us more money? you're giving the basketball program exactly what they need. Give us what we need.
Yeah. Well, and it's the 15 Club is their main collective, the Kentucky collective, and he's whining, right? He's whining, "Oh, woe is me! We don't have enough money. We need more money to get the kids that we want to get." But man, there are a lot of coaches that are whining right now, and it's true. I mean, this is what's happened. The monies have become a slush fund. There's no doubt about it. Texas, USC, name 5 other huge programs that have that exact same set of alum who writing a check. It's an open checkbook. The challenge is, how do we continue to go down this path? It's wrought with danger. It's the kids are going to get recruited. There are going to be kids, and that we say it's not for performance, but it is. At the end of the day, it is performance. So are kids going to get thrown to the side when they don't perform, when they all of a sudden are no longer relevant to the team? And I'm not talking about injury, because insurance will cover most of that and take care of those problems. But it's when these kids feel like they had an opportunity to continue being a part of a program and they don't. Now, that's the transfer portal is all about. That allows them to go elsewhere. But there's going to be a kid who's going to stand up and say, hold it, we had a deal. We had an agreement, and I'm not getting the NIL money that you guys said. And I blame the school because, oh, by the way, I don't have a job here other than showing up and looking pretty and playing on the field. I blame the school for the lack of funding.
Yeah. Well, to that point, the current trend and monies that are out there are just not sustainable for long term, for the long term health of NIL. They just can't be sustained in any shape, way, or form in years to come the way that it is. To that other side, I mean, we spoke about Colorado before,
Yep.
but I mean, last year Colorado was 1-11. They were about as relevant as me and you sometimes. They just, nobody knew who we were and nobody knew who they were. And that's what somebody's value and worth came in, changed everything, and now they're playing every weekend on TV.
Yeah.
They're the game of the week, or they're gonna have they're gonna have their moment that they didn't have before, and as a result, all of those players' exposure and their performance is viewed by millions of people that never even knew who they were or existed. The last time Colorado was a relevant program was 2002, over 20 years ago. And now it's relevant again. And to that point that you were talking about, I look at that and say, the player that comes in and it's like, hey, I'm not your favorite anymore. It's like, you would be my favorite if you could perform. And that's how a coach would look at it. It's like, I'm supposed to be colorblind, when it comes to whether, this person is doing this or that. It comes down to who runs fast, who tackles great, who throws further. Because at the end of the day, if I'm picking somebody because I like them, I'm not picking the right person. I'm picking the person that makes our team better. And, that may be somebody that in the past has been a good player, but fell off for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That's the way life is.
Well, and that happens in college ball anyway. I mean, let's just be honest. It's just put a spotlight on it, and now there's a money equation that's involved, and you're going to bring labor unions and employment rules into play now because money's involved. So what in the past has been something that's just been overlooked, and there's been many a college player, guarantee, that has been kind of abused by the system and probably lost out. It just has never raised to the spotlight that we see nowadays. And oh, by the way, Deion Sanders and hype we've never seen that before, have we?
Not to that level. Not to that level.
Well, fair enough, but it's definitely going to be. There's a lot of interesting things that we've got going on here, no doubt about it.
You've seen prices rise from the dinner table to the pump, but Allstate agents are seeing ways to save you money on insurance. From starting a new policy to bundling coverage or even driving safely, Allstate agents know how to maximize your savings. They'll share their knowledge as they help you personalize your coverage. Because when it comes to seeing all the ways to save, Allstate agents do it best.
Mike Hammer has over 35 years as an Austin area Allstate agent. Call 512-343-6994 or visit MikeHammer@allstate.com.
Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
This is the Parent Portal Show.